these are very important visits, particularly when we see it in the background of what has been happening before these visits. I mean, U.S.-Pakistan relations were tense. President Trump, when he first came into power, during his first term, the first statement he issued was about Pakistan, in which he actually publicly opened his disagreement and displeasure with Pakistan. But this time around, his total attitude is different. And now, first it started with his first address to the U.S. Congress. You know that the U.S. President, soon after his election, addresses a joint meeting of both the Senate and the House of Representatives. And in that meeting, President Trump mentioned Pakistan. He appreciated Pakistan's help in catching terrorists wanted in the United States. And he said that one such terrorist has been apprehended by Pakistan, and he was on his way to the United States. That responding to his request, Pakistanis are actually sending him to the United States. And then you see, gradually, there were conferences and meetings. There was one big conference on minerals in Islamabad, in which the United States sent a large delegation, which looked at various possibility of helping Pakistan find those minerals that people believe are there in Pakistan. And the Americans also offered to help Pakistan not only retrieve those minerals, but also in sort of turning it into a profitable business. I mean, there could be U.S. investment. The American firms could move into Pakistan to excavate those minerals and then to export them to whichever destinations there. I mean, they may become the developer and the buyer of those minerals. That happened, and then there were Pakistani delegations and Pakistani representatives that came to the United States. Pakistan's finance ministers has already made 3 or 4 visits to Washington, and then the biggest event of them all happened, and that was the 4-day war between India and Pakistan in May. During that war, Pakistan successfully responded to Indian aggression and once again proved to the world that it may be a smaller country, it may be a weaker country, but it still is able to defend itself, and it did so very convincingly. And that sent a message across the world that Pakistan is not a country that can be ignored. Pakistan is not a country that India can bully around. Pakistan is a nation of 250 million people. It has a large diaspora, it has a large middle class, and above all, it has a very strong army that can meet any challenge. And that war alone changed attitudes across the globe, not only in the United States, but also in Europe and other countries, in the Middle East and other countries. And then you see this first visit of the army chief happened. He came to Washington, and when he came, we were expecting that he would meet U.S. military leaders, as the Pentagon has always been has always been a close ally of the Pakistani military establishment, and we thought that he will meet them. At the best, he would probably meet Secretary of State, and then he would go back. But then everybody was surprised when President Trump invited him to a lunch at the White House. That is unprecedented. The American president does not invite army chiefs to the White House, to a formal lunch at the White House, which he did, and they held discussions on the security situation. And then since then, several statements have been issued both by the White House and the State Department, highlighting Pakistan's position in that region and the role that the United States expect Pakistan to play in particularly as a go-between in the dispute between Iran and the United States. Also, the role the United States expects Pakistan to play in curbing terrorism in Afghanistan and dealing with some of the groups that are a threat to both Pakistan and the United States. That really, the first visit set the tone for what happened next. You saw that the finance minister came, he held negotiations with his interlocutors and other senior U.S. officials, and this led to an agreement between Pakistan and the United States on trade and tariffs. Pakistan was given an easier, I would say, an agreement. But Pakistan was given an agreement that favors Pakistan compared to India and other countries. I mean, India, the United States levied about 25%, first 25% tariff on Indian goods, while Pakistan was given a slightly less, about a 19% tariff, which gives Pakistan about an advantage of 6% in selling goods in the U.S. market. That's a huge leverage. But then we saw, because of disagreement with India, that the tariff on India was doubled to 50%, which in Washington is seen as a bargaining chip, and that ultimately people believe that it will be reduced, but it does create opportunities for Pakistan, and Pakistan is keen to take advantage of that. Pakistan is keen to enter the U.S. market again. So, and while these things was happening, then there was another opportunity was created. Another opportunity was created for the Pakistan Army Chief to visit the United States, and he came here to attend the change of command ceremony in Tampa, Florida, which is the headquarters of the U.S. Central Command. Central Command is the command that deals with Pakistan and the rest of the Middle East, including Afghanistan. And during this change of leadership, our Army Chief was able to thank the outgoing commander, General Kurilla, for his services in promoting U.S.-Pakistan relations. You remember General Kurilla as the CENTCOM commander, praised Pakistan's contribution in the fight against terrorism in the U.S. Congress. He promoted Pakistan as an old ally, which has always played an effective role in fighting terrorism, etc. And for his positive sentiments for Pakistan, he was also awarded a high military, given a high military award in Islamabad recently. So it was important for the Pakistan Army Chief to be present here at his departure ceremony. Then, of course, this also enabled our Army Chief to meet the new commander of CENTCOM and other commanders and leaders of the U.S. Armed Forces. Then he also spent a day in Washington, where he is supposed to have met the political leadership of the United States. We were never told who he met, but we understand that he met senior U.S. officials, and soon after he left, Washington announced that it was designating BLA as an international terrorist outfit, which indicates that whoever he met and whatever talks he held, it might have focused on security issues, and the Americans are willing and ready to help Pakistan in dealing with these issues. During his second visit, the Army Chief addressed a gathering of Pakistani American of the Pakistani American community in Tampa, Florida. First of all, let me start with an acknowledgement that I was not there because the media was not invited. There were no Pakistani or Indian journalists there. So whatever appeared in the Pakistani media or in the Indian media is based on second-hand sources. What we did and what the Indians did was we reached out to members of the Pakistani community who attended that that gathering, that event, and made our reports based on whatever we were told. There was no way for us to cross-check or verify what we were told. Now, you know that the Pakistani American community is divided over various political issues. There are people who would say very good things about the army chief and his contribution to Pakistan defense. And there are people who disagree with him over certain issues, and they may say things that will make him look bad. So whatever has been reported, we must take it with a pinch of salt. Having said that, I will now talk about what I learned after speaking to some Pakistani Americans who attended that gathering. And they told me that the army chief made it very clear that Pakistan will not let India choke the Indus River, that Pakistan will not permit India to deprive Pakistan of the Indus, of its water sources. Okay, and if India built a dam to stop the flow of Indus, he said in so many words that we will use 10 missiles to destroy that dam, and he said we have no shortage of missiles, and we will use them to defend our water rights. And then he also said that if the war escalates, then we know where India's sensitive installations are, and we have the missiles to reach those destinations, and will not hesitate to use those missiles. And he said, also said that India is like a shining Mercedes, but then Pakistan is like a dumper truck full of concrete. So if that Mercedes hits the truck, you know who would be destroyed. So obviously the Indians, as they would and as they should interpreted it as a nuclear threat, and they want Washington to take action against Pakistan because he and the Pakistan, according to them, the Pakistan army chief was threatening India with a nuclear war while sitting in the United States on U.S. soil. But I think that is a matter of interpretation. What he said, what the army chief said, is a traditional Pakistani positions that if there is ever an existential threat to Pakistan, then Pakistan will use whatever resources it has. That includes everything. He didn't use the word nuclear, but it's obvious that if there's a threat to Pakistan's existence, Pakistan will go for every option available to it. And we would, as a Pakistani journalist, I would interpret it as stating Pakistan's right to defend itself. As an Indian journalist, they will see it as a nuclear threat because India has a policy on it. They want to stop Pakistan's water. They want to beat Pakistan in the battlefield. They do say that we have better conventional weapons, and they want to patronize BLA and other terrorist outfits, but they do not want Pakistan to have the right to defend itself. That is the Indian position, and obviously that position has been stated by Indian journalists. Our position is that we have the right to defend ourselves with whatever resources we have. So I think that's what the army chief did in Tampa. It is too early to say. See, this could be anything. This could be Washington, part of a Washington policy to cut a better deal with India. This could be a realization in Washington that Pakistan is also an important player in that region. And while we want good relations with India, we also need to have good relations with Pakistan. It could be the realizations of the role Pakistan can play in U.S. Negotiations with Iran, also the realization of the role that Pakistan can play in fighting various terrorist groups in Afghanistan. And it obviously is also, which is something that President Trump has said so many times, is an expression of frustration with some certain Indian policies, like India purchasing oil from Russia and Iran and selling them in the market at a profitable rate. but while it obviously favors India, but it also it also jeopardizes. It also weakens. I would say it also weakens the U.S. policy of preventing Russia and Iran from selling their oil in the international market, because Washington wants them, has been denying them access to the international market. So any country that buys oil from Iran and Russia and sells them in the international market, then is obviously sabotaging the American policy. So there could be several factors. How would this shape up? Will it actually lead to a better relationship between Pakistan and the United States, in which Pakistan is seen as an important country in that region, not just not just through Afghanistan's lenses or India's lenses, as was done in the past, but a recognition of Pakistan as an important nation with a large population, with a large middle class, with the potential of becoming a middle-income, prosperous countries. Only time will tell how it shapes up, but it anyway is a positive development for Pakistan.